Snow fell like drifting ash over the cabin nestled deep in the Terran woods, silent, cold, and forgotten by civilization. Ethan Cole tugged his heavy coat tighter as he gathered firewood, the axe biting cleanly through the frozen logs. The solitude here was his penance, or so he liked to think. He hadn't seen another soul in 2 years, at least not one from Earth. But he had seen her once. That night under the twin moons of Kirill, 7, a planet far from home. The war had ended, and in the eerie calm that followed, he'd met her, Lyra, a silver-skinned, starlit beauty, warrior of the Shylan. She had saved him from a ruptured bunker, then shared a night beneath the strange skies, one neither of them had dared speak of again. That was 4 years ago. A crunch in the snow drew Ethan's attention from the axe head embedded in the log. A figure emerged from the tree line, tall, ethereal, wrapped in tattered robes and snow-laced hair like moonlight woven into silk. And at her side, holding her hand tightly, was a small child. His breath caught. His pulse thundered. He knew that face. And her eyes, those brilliant violet orbs, he had seen them before. Lyra, he croaked, dropping the axe. She didn't smile. The little girl peeked out from behind her mother's leg, curious but cautious. She couldn't have been more than 3, her skin pale, her hair white blonde, soft ringlets framing a heart-shaped face. But her eyes, they were his. Human. "She's your daughter," Lyra said plainly, no emotion in her voice, only exhaustion. "Remember that night, human?" Ethan staggered back a step, mouth dry, heart thundering. Lyra knelt and whispered something in the girl's ear. The child stepped forward on her own, clutching a little cloth doll with a single button eye. She looked up at Ethan, her small voice barely more than a breath. "Are you my dad?" Ethan's world tilted. They sat inside by the fire, the girl huddled under a heavy wool blanket, her little hands wrapped around a steaming cup. Ethan hadn't stopped staring. "Why now?" he finally asked, his voice low. "Why come here?" Lyra looked at her daughter. "Because we have nowhere else." She told him of the persecution back on Kirill, 7. Her people had declared her a traitor for consorting with a human, even briefly. When the child was born looking too human, too different, they banished her. She had survived on the run, moving from settlement to settlement, scrounging what she could, until finally, she remembered Ethan's quiet stories of a distant cabin on a cold world. "She's 3, Ethan murmured. "I missed everything." "She knows you," Lyra said gently. "I told her stories." The little girl was asleep now, curled by the fire like a snow fox pup. "She's smart," Lyra continued. "Stronger than she looks. But she needs more than me. She needs safety, a home, and a father." Ethan stared into the fire. He didn't know how to be a father. He could barely survive himself. But when he looked at the child, his child, he knew he would try. They named her Elia. Or rather, Lyra told him she'd always called her that, and Ethan liked the way it felt on his tongue. The early weeks were awkward. Ethan stumbled through the routines, splitting firewood with one hand while balancing Elia with the other, learning which roots she could eat and which she'd wrinkle her nose at. But he learned quickly. The cabin grew warmer with laughter, and his silence melted under the weight of Elia's questions. "Why snow cold?" she asked once, staring out the frosted window. "Because it doesn't have a fire in its heart," he replied without thinking. She giggled, then solemnly promised to build a fire for the snow. Lyra watched them from a distance, always near but never intrusive. She taught Ethan the ways of the Shylan, how to sharpen his senses, how to read tracks by starlight, how to recognize the singing of danger in the wind. They hunted together, guarded the cabin at night, and slowly, Something old and forgotten sparked between them. Trust. Maybe even more. But danger didn't stay far for long. It came with deep night, cloaked in the same snow that blanketed their roof. A low thrum echoed through the valley, alien, mechanical, not of this world. Ethan grabbed the rifle he hadn't touched in a year and moved to the door. Lyra already stood there, tense. They found us. Shailen. She nodded. A retrieval unit. They want her back. I thought they cast you out. They did. But her blood is proof of the breach. Proof that we're not as pure as they claim. They'll take her to dissect what they fear. Ethan looked at the sleeping Elia, her chest rising and falling peacefully. Rage burned in his gut. He turned back to Lyra. They're not taking her. The fight was not glorious. It was fast, brutal, cold. 3 figures emerged from the woods, tall, silver-cloaked hunters of Lyra's people. They moved like shadows, their weapons humming with bioenergy. Ethan and Lyra fought back to back, Ethan with his rifle, Lyra with a glowing blade that sang through the air. He took a blast to the shoulder but stayed standing. Lyra moved like a dance of wind and steel, every motion purposeful. One hunter fell, then another. The last fled into the trees, wounded, vanishing like a phantom into the dark. The snow turned crimson in places. Ethan collapsed against a tree, blood soaking his coat. Elia, he gasped. Lyra helped him up. She's safe. Because of you. He healed slowly. Elia rarely left his side, pressing leaves Lyra gave her to his wounds like she was casting magic. You're not going anywhere, she'd whisper fiercely. Ethan would laugh through the pain. Not if I can help it. And when he finally stood again, Lyra pulled him into a long, quiet embrace. I brought her here so you'd protect her, she said. But I see now this is where she belongs. With both of us. Ethan kissed her forehead. You're not going anywhere either. Spring came slow, with shy blossoms poking through the snow. The cabin, once cold and quiet, now echoed with Elia's songs and laughter. Ethan carved her a proper bed from cedar. Lyra stitched blankets from fur and thread. And every night, they sat together by the fire, the 3 of them, a warrior, a wanderer, and the child who'd bound them. One evening, as stars blinked overhead and a gentle wind whispered through the trees, Elia crawled into Ethan's lap and asked, Will you always be my dad? Ethan kissed the top of her head, heart swelling with a love he hadn't known he could feel. Always, little star. Always.